Glasgow Corla Taoiseach. This morning, another 5 people have been arrested in West Tallaght, including 2 minors and a pensioner. Yesterday, 4 were arrested, also including a child. To date, 17 arrests have been made, and it's reported that up to 33 people will be detained in the coming days. Taoiseach, the scale of Garda resources deployed for these arrests stands in marked contrast to the lack of Garda response in many communities when families report serious crime. The number of Garda used to arrest an elected member of this House and members of South Dublin County Council stands in stark contrast to the lack of community Gardaí on the ground in communities afflicted, in some instances, with drug and gangland crime. And there is a growing concern that these arrests are politically motivated, that somebody somewhere has a desire to criminalise the community in Jobstown and the entire anti-water charges movement. Now, let me be very clear, Taoiseach. I don't believe that it's acceptable in a democracy to protest at politicians' homes, nor to detain politicians, their staff, or council workers as they go about their business. That's not acceptable. I don't believe either that it is appropriate to aggressively target the office of the President. I believe that protests should be peaceful and dignified, and indeed that is what they have been for the most part. But I do share the concern of a growing number of people that what the Gardaí are doing is of a political nature. So, Taoiseach, can I ask you, do you share my concern that there is a campaign to criminalise the people of Jobstown and the hundreds of thousands of anti-water charge campaigners? Do you share the view that the level of Garda resources being deployed is over the top and in stark contrast to the lack of response for victims of crime in West Tallaght and elsewhere?
Thank you, Deputy.
And do you, Taoiseach, stand over the manner in which the Gardaí are conducting these arrests and treating the people of Jobstown?
Well, first of all, in our democratic system, it's a matter for An Garda Síochána to investigate crime. Secondly, we have an independent judiciary, and the Gardaí in the investigation of crime have to be free to do so without political interference of any kind. That is why it is exclusively a matter for An Garda Síochána to decide, in accordance with law, who is to be arrested and detained as part of any investigation. Equally, it's a matter for the Director of Public Prosecutions to decide whether people are charged and a matter is put before the courts when they are. People who have any complaints about the manner in which they have been dealt with on Garda Síochána can make those complaints to the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission. And I think it's important that members of the House remember that we're a country governed by the rule of law, and we should let the law take its course without interference or hindrance from anybody. And it would clearly be wrong of me, Deputy, to say anything which would interfere in any way with any investigation.
Thank you. Deputy Mary Lou McDonald.
And nor am I or would I, Taoiseach, invite you to interfere in any investigative process. And I acknowledge, of course, the independence of the Gardaí and indeed the independence of the judiciary. And those are 2 essential pillars of our functioning democratic system. And therefore, it is so essential that where there is a public concern or a public doubt, that the independence of those organisations and institutions are reasserted. But, Taoiseach, what's happened here in a drip way is that people have been arrested right across West Tallaght, including, as I've told you, pensioners and children. 14-year-olds and 16-year-olds. And I think you will agree with me that a core part of the democratic system, in addition to the independence of the organisations that you have identified, is the right to peaceful protest and right to peaceful demonstration. And Taoiseach, if you're not concerned about the public perception of these turn of events, you ought to be, because there is a growing public concern that the state, through An Garda Síochána, is actively penalising and targeting people who have protested against government policy. That is a most dangerous a most dangerous perception to grow.
Order, please. Sorry,
and
question, please.
Thank you, Last Chair. And whilst that might draw the guffaws of the well-heeled benches of the Dáil, let me tell you that if you go into Jobstown today, or if you go into communities right across the state, particularly working-class communities, you will find that that perception is growing. And I believe that we have a duty as politicians, as elected representatives, and you as Taoiseach, to put that concern to rest.
Thank you.
So I ask you again, do you share my concerns? Do you recognise that the level of Garda resources deployed has been, frankly, over the top at a time when those resources are so stretched? Are you concerned that a member of this House was arrested? Are you concerned about the manner of that arrest, the melodrama around it? But above all, Taoiseach, do you not share the concern that a growing number of people regard this as politically motivated policing?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Well, I uphold the Constitution. I'm required as any member of the government is. And in that, I respect the independence of the judiciary, the independence of the Gardaí, and the availability of an independent complaint system. And I think it is important that anyone speaking on these matters in this House would not reflect in any negative way whatever on the independence of these institutional and constitutional arrangements, which are the cornerstone of our democracy. I visit communities right across the state frequently, and I have found that protesters appear to favour protesting against ceremonies and events and institutions to do with education. I think that in relation to the people of Jobstown, the people who are receiving their awards and degrees were celebrating an important day in their and their community's life. And can I just say as well, in relation to the events of the other evening in Fingal County Council, I served as a member of that County Council for some period of time, as did other members of this House. And I regret what happened to the Mayor of Fingal, Councillor Mags Murray, who's a Fianna Fáil Mayor of Fingal County Council and somebody known to me over a long period of time, that she wanted to leave the council meeting to visit her daughter, who was ill in hospital, and she was remonstrated with in a very cruel and, in my view, utterly misguided way by those people who prevented her from going to her car to visit her daughter in hospital as part of a protest. Now, all I will say there is that they are not representative of the people who have political issues and opposition to the whole issue of water charges, nor are they representative of how politics has been generally conducted in this state. I suspect that in the case of the people in Fingal the other evening, holding a mother back from going to see a sick daughter in a hospital for an additional hour or two, I don't think actually that had anything to do with water or the vast majority of people who have concerns and who have protested and who have done so absolutely peacefully and in an orderly way. Peacefully and in an orderly way. And all I can say is that you know,
Minister to conclude.
when communities are going about their lawful and their peaceful development of their community, where people are graduating with honours from colleges, a mark of great honour and great credit to the communities, or when schools are working with children in our schools and protesters are turning up at those events, I have to say, I think, like you've suggested, Deputy McDonald, they are not typical of the people engaged in peaceful protest on this issue.
Thank you.
And I would suggest they think again, just as I don't understand why they prevented a mother going to see her sick daughter after the finish of a council
Now for the technical group, sorry, Deputy Ruth Coppinger.